312 years in service, and Thalcareth had learned to read silence. Not the silence of space, that was simply the absence of sound, and it meant nothing. He meant the silence of a bridge when his crew saw something they could not explain. That silence had texture. Wait. He felt it before he reached the doorway. He stepped onto the bridge. His best analysts. His senior tacticians. 3 centuries of combined Vorkai strategic experience, standing very still, looking at the display, saying nothing at all. He looked at the display. His mind counted automatically, reflex, bone deep, trained across 3 centuries of fleet command. You counted contacts the way you breathed. 40. Then 90. Then, in the time it took him to cross from the doorway to the center console, 211. They were not arriving. No jump residue. No transit wake. No corridor collapse. They were simply appearing, contact by contact, spreading across his sector like a fever that moved faster than biology should allow. He watched the number climb. 427. He had not felt fear in a very long time. He had felt caution, calculation, the cold management of risk. But this was older. Something that lived beneath strategy, beneath the 300 years of discipline layered over instinct. This was the feeling of standing in a clearing and realizing, too late, that the stillness around you is not empty. Species identification, he said. Steady voice. Always steady. He had worked his whole career to make it so. Velshan answered without looking up. Human, fleet sovereign. All of them. ECS pulse profiles. Weapons charged. Power cores aligned for combat. A pause. 427. Human warships. In a sector the Vorkai had held for 600 years. 3 jump points from the nearest human territory. No evidence they had traveled to get here, as though the void had simply decided to fill. Battle stations, Thalcareth said. All ships. He did not say what he was thinking. This is wrong. And everything wrong at this scale is wrong for a reason. 42,000 kilometers away, Warrant Officer Harpreet Sandhu watched the power core readout tick to 0 and reset the clock. Steady hands. She didn't think about that. 53 hours without sleep. The Vikrant was cold, the particular cold that sets in when heating systems have been deprioritized for 2 days. The ship smelled of metal and sealed corridors and the specific silence of a crew that was no longer present. She didn't think about that either. ECS Vikrant was a survey vessel. Class 3. 9-person crew. Built for deep cartography and long-horizon silence. Her lieutenant had built the resonance echo array for his doctoral thesis, a peacetime tool, designed to let survey ships appear larger than they were when passing through hostile territory. A mathematical lie. Bounce the drive harmonics off the vessel's own gravitational field, scatter false contacts across every array within range, make one ship look like a fleet. Commander Priya Dhaliwal had ordered it activated when the Vorkai patrol found them. Her last order. Before the hull breach. Now there was Harpreet. The clock. Nothing else. 427 ghost contacts spread across her display. She watched them bloom. Reset the clock. 11 minutes before the next cycle, before the power core spiked and the whole illusion required her hands again. Every 11 minutes. 53 hours. She thought about Dal. She was so tired. 90 minutes of analysis. The same answer, repeated. The contacts were real. That was the problem, not that they existed, but that every instrument confirmed them. Drive echoes, genuine. Weapon charge profiles, genuine. The specific electromagnetic static of human electronics, the precise frequency of their power cores. All of it measured. All of it exactly where it should be. 427 real warships. Arranged impossibly. Appearing without traveling. Behaving like a diagram of themselves. Formation analysis, Thalcareth said. Third time. Veshmore pulled the overlay. 2 uniform, fleet sovereign. Human formations drift, individual commanders, engine variants, years of habit baked into how each crew holds position. These contacts are placed. Like someone followed a manual. Perfect spacing. No drift at all. But the echoes are genuine. Yes. A real fleet. Geometrically impossible. Arriving without arriving. Then one of them spoke. Single transmission. Point source. Grid 774. Sevratha read it in the careful voice of someone carrying bad news to someone they respect. Survey vessel, Fleet Sovereign. Class 3. 9-person crew capacity. Nobody moved for a moment. 1 survey vessel. Inside 427 warships. He opened the channel himself. Static. Then a voice, female, low, carrying the specific weight of someone who had been alone long enough to stop performing composure. This is ECS Vikrant. We are, a pause that lasted 1 beat too long. Conducting scheduled exercises. Please stand clear. 72 hours. Then silence. 1 ship, Thalcareth said. Yes, Fleet Sovereign. Spoke for 427. Yes. He sat. 3 full minutes of silence. His first reading, arrogance. Human arrogance, the dismissive kind, the kind that didn't bother sending all its captains to a meeting because the numbers were a formality. He had seen it before. He filed it under known behavior and kept analyzing. His second reading arrived 40 minutes later, and it did not file neatly under anything. Corvessel pulled 1 overlay onto the main display. A single pulse signal. Scattered. Multiplied. Bounced off the vessel's own gravitational field, spread outward across every sensor array in range. They are all the same echo, she said. Quietly. Like someone speaking a sentence they don't quite believe yet. Every contact. 1 source. 1 ship. Reflected. Thalcareth did not move. How long? He asked. She checked the first detection timestamp. Her voice, when she answered, had gone very flat. 56 hours, Fleet Sovereign. 56 hours. He looked at the power core cycling data, the small variations in output timing that Corvessel had flagged. Not mechanical drift. Human fatigue. A single operator, the interval slipping 3 seconds, 4 seconds, then correcting. Again and again. Sleeping, waking. Sleeping, waking. Resetting whatever needed resetting, because if she didn't, 427 contacts disappeared. The bridge did not make a sound. He looked at the display. 427 phantom contacts, geometrically perfect, patient, utterly convincing, all of them pointing back to 1 survey vessel running on recycled air and a woman who apparently did not know how to stop. The clearing metaphor returned. He'd felt it when he first stepped onto the bridge, the weight in the silence, the sense of a presence already occupying a space before he understood what it was. He had been right. Something had been in the clearing for 56 hours. It had no weapons that could threaten his armada. It was alone. It was exhausted. And it had mobilized his entire fleet before he even understood what it was. What is she waiting for? He said. No one answered. The cold came back. What she was waiting for was the Vorkai fleet to move. She watched it happen at hour 59. Nearly missed it, mid-reset when the passive display updated, and the formation that had held position for hours began to vector. Not toward her. The ghost contacts had done exactly what Commander Dhaliwal had intended. The enemy believed 427 warships occupied 100,000 kilometers of space, pulse signatures hot, carrier groups deployed. To close with that required full armada formation. Full speed. Total tactical commitment. They were moving to meet the Ghost fleet. All 463 of them. Actual warships. Real hulls. Real guns. Real crews who had no idea what they were closing on. Moving away from Velketh. The Vorkai staging world. 3 years of construction. The fuel reserves. The shipyard building the next generation of heavy cruisers, the ones designed to change force ratios across 4 sectors. The logistical backbone of everything the Vorkai planned to do to human space in the next decade. She pulled up the navigation chart she'd kept open since the commander's last order. The real human fleet, 11 ships, Admiral Reyes' Rapid Response Group, the only vessels in range when the border situation broke open. 11 ships against 463, destroyed in 12 minutes. 11 ships against an undefended Velketh, more than enough. She keyed the emergency frequency. Tight beam. Low power. Aimed with the exact geometry she'd had 59 hours to calculate. 1 transmission. 1 coordinate. Velketh. Then she went silent. The Vorkai armada continued its approach. 463 warships crossing toward mathematics, weapons primed, every sensor array pointed at formations she'd built from endurance and a clock she refused to let die. She watched the last Vorkai vessel clear the planet's gravity well. Velketh sat empty behind them. She thought briefly about the logistics officers on that world. The depot workers on first shift. The shipyard crews walking in to find every gun emplacement pointing outward at a threat already coming from behind them. She didn't feel triumphant. She looked at Priya's photograph. "Sir," she said. Voice barely a whisper. "They ran from nothing. They're still running." The oxygen percentage dropped another fraction. She didn't read the number. What mattered? The clock read 11 minutes. She reset it. What mattered? 463 warships had committed. No graceful exit from battle formation. No tactical dignity in reversing course while an enemy fleet watched. The Ghost fleet watched. It couldn't do anything else. What mattered? Somewhere in the dark, for light hours away, a tight beam signal was crossing empty space at the speed of light. In 3 hours and 47 minutes, Admiral Reyes would read 1 coordinate and know exactly what it meant. Vikrant held position. Alone. Quiet. 429 ghosts held formation around her, patient, perfect, made entirely of mathematics and 1 woman who hadn't slept. At hour 64, the tasks ran out. She'd been living by them. Reset the clock. Check the emitters, all 11. Track the Vorkai fleet vectors on passive. Eat, even though eating cost oxygen, even though nothing tasted like food anymore. Now the Vorkai fleet was committed and the waiting had nothing left to fill it. She talked to her crew. Not because she'd lost her mind. She was clear enough about her own state, frayed, overtaxed, still functional. She talked because the sound of her voice kept her from going under. And they deserved a voice. Even now. Ravi. His console. She'd been running his systems for 2 days. Tamil background, terrible taste in music, the best power core intuition she'd ever seen in a working engineer. You'd have loved this. It's all core math. Just core math and not dying. Reset. Keiko. The navigator. I used your tight beam calculations from 3 months ago. Different mission, exact angle. Exact to the meter. A pause. You were always exact. Last emergency ration. Hard. Flavorless. She chewed slowly, fast was wasteful, and she was done being wasteful. Commander. Priya's photograph. Chandigarh. The ECS because her father served, and his before him, not a choice so much as the shape of a life, accepted without argument. I don't know yet if it worked. 2 hours and 43 minutes, if the Admiral moved immediately. Reset. Ma would say I should have called for help sooner. A breath. She's right. She usually is. A long look at the sealed corridor door. I couldn't break the signal pattern. The moment they heard my voice on a distress frequency, they'd know I was alone. And alone means the fleet disappears. Reset. She looked at the viewport. The same patch of black. 2.5 days of the same nothing, swallowed by the gas cloud, starless, total. She thought about Amritsar. The Longar kitchen before sunrise. The sound of the dal pot, low and steady, her mother moving through the steam with the economy of someone who had done this 10,000 times. The smell of cardamom in winter. She held the image the way you hold a lamp in a corridor with no lights, not because it changes anything, but because it makes the walking possible. She opened her eyes. Checked the emitters. Brought one back up. The ghost fleet held. 11 more minutes, she thought. Always 11 more minutes. She reset the clock. 11 ships dropped out of FTL above Velketh at hour 66. ECS Agincourt. Gallipoli. Thermopylae. Kohima. Impul. Dien Bien Phu. Marawi. Maiwand. Mosul. Naktong. Chosin. Admiral Catalina Reyes on the Agincourt, 11 rapid response hulls running hot, crews who had read one coordinate and known immediately what was being asked of them. They found a staging world with no defensive fleet. Fuel depot, 8 months of operational reserves. Shipyard. 3 heavy cruisers in various stages of construction, 3 years of continuous labor, the intended backbone of the next Vorkai offensive. They did not fire on the planet. The people on Velketh were workers, not soldiers, depot crews, logistics staff, engineers who had come in for first shift and found every gun emplacement pointing at a threat already inside their perimeter. The Agincourt broadcast on all frequencies, stand down. ECS quarantine pending ceasefire negotiation. Non-combatants will not be harmed. Then they destroyed the shipyard. 12 minutes. Precise demolition, structural points only, nothing that would ignite the fuel lines. Not rage. Not punishment. Pure logistics. The fuel reserves they took intact. 400 light-seconds away, Thalkareth received the transmission from Velketh. Read it once. Sat in his command throne for 4 minutes without speaking. His armada still in battle formation, still closing on ghost echoes, still pointing every array they carried at a survey vessel running on recycled air. 463 warships. The pride of the 7th Armada. 3 centuries of doctrine built on the certainty that numbers told you what was real. He transmitted to Grid 774. Open channel. Human vessel. Your fleet has taken Velketh. Her voice came back rough and quiet, carrying something that wasn't triumph and wasn't satisfaction, something much older than either. I know. I saw the confirmation signal. You will cease your device. Yes. A pause. In a moment. He waited. The ghost contacts flickered once, then vanished, all at once, not gradually, as if someone had simply switched off 429 stars. 1 contact remained. 1 survey vessel. Small. Dark. Very still. Fleet sovereign. Velshan's voice was careful. The vessel's power core is failing. She's losing atmosphere. The order came before he'd finished deciding. Medical rapid response. Grid 774. Now. He did not examine why. He gave the order and looked at the empty sector display and thought about 3 centuries of certainty, and what it felt like to have it disassembled by a clock reset and a woman who refused to stop. They reached Vikrant in 11 minutes. 4 minutes to cut the airlock, power gone, mechanical seals holding on metal alone. Inside, cold. Emergency phosphors bleeding cold blue. The corridor door sealed. The Vorkai medical officer did not open it. On the bridge, Harpreet Sandhu was unconscious in the pilot's chair. Harness on. Hand resting on the reset console, resting there, not gripping, because the resetting was done. The environmental readout showed oxygen at 3% when she had powered down the array. 6 minutes remaining. She had not sent a distress signal. Not once. In 67 hours. She had stayed awake until confirmation. Until Velketh. Then she had powered down in exactly that order, mission first, then herself, and let the dark take her. The Vorkai physician worked with human physiology files 2 decades out of date and managed, in the end, because the biology was far simpler than everything else about the situation. Thalkareth requested the communication link when she was stable. He stood before the open channel for a long time. He was 312 years old. He had 11 campaigns behind him. He did not have language for what he was about to ask. "How long were you prepared to continue?" he said. On the medical vessel, Harpreet Sandhu, oxygen line, 3 blankets, first warm food in 3 days, considered this. "Until it worked," she said. "Or until it didn't." Silence from both ends. "You were alone," he said. "Yes." "Your crew?" "Yes." He stopped. The question he was actually asking had no shape in any language he owned. So he said nothing. The channel stayed open. Neither of them closed it. The armistice began 6 days later. Velketh changed hands. The shipyard was gone. 3 years of construction, removed from the board in 12 minutes. The captured reserves fueled ECS operations across the sector for 18 months. The war the Vorkai had been building toward, patiently, systematically, across 3 years of heavy hull construction, never happened. A journalist asked Harpreet at the Fleet Cross ceremony what she had been thinking. Out there. Alone. Running the clock. She thought about it. "Dal," she said. The journalist waited. She didn't add anything. Months later, Thalkareth filed a 3-sentence addendum to the Vorkai Strategic Archive. "We mobilized our entire armada against a weapon that did not exist. The human who built it used mathematics and refused to sleep. We have not yet determined which of these frightened us more." When Harpreet woke in the medical bay, drifting back through cold and recycled air and the sound of an alien language she didn't know, she asked 4 words before she asked anything else. Did it work? The ghost fleet had died the moment she powered down. The Vorkai spent 3 months afterward scanning empty sectors for ships that had never been there, checking and rechecking data that no longer showed anything to check. She heard about this later, from Admiral Reyes, and said nothing. Some weapons make no sound. Some fleets fire no shot. Some wars end because one person in a dying ship decided that 11 more minutes was always possible, and then proved it, 67 times in a row, until there was nothing left to prove.